Welcome to the Lester Rouge Productions vlog. In the previous episodes, I covered the origin of the name Lester Rouge and explained my cheese calendar. Now those fundamentals are out of the way, we can move on to the subject of video. More specifically, how I got into making videos in the first place. I've had a fascination with videos since my mum bought our first VHS recorder back in 1983. It was a long time ago, and I was only 7 at the time, but I still remember having great fun figuring out how to work the machine and then teaching Mum how to use it. I soon mastered the complexities of setting the timer, whilst Mum was amazed how we could watch one TV channel while simultaneously recording a different one. By the late 1980s we also had a camcorder and became quite accustomed to making family videos, birthdays, Christmases, trips to the zoo, etc. But it was when we acquired a second VHS recorder that I discovered video editing. For those of you under a certain age, a brief explanation of what VHS is may be necessary, since the format is pretty much obsolete these days. Before the days of digital streaming and downloads, videos tended to be distributed on discs. And before the days of discs, they were stored on tape cassettes. This is a VHS cassette, and to do anything with it, you needed one of these, a video cassette recorder, or VCR. I think I was around 13 or 14 when I figured out that with the right leads, I could connect two of these together and copy parts of one tape to another one. So I could take a short scene from a birthday party and copy it to a fresh tape, then add a scene from Christmas, and so on to build up a montage. I later found out that this process was a form of what's known as linear editing. Essentially, this means you lay all your different video clips down in order, and if at some point you decide you don't like one of the edits, or you want to insert a different clip in between two previously edited ones, tough luck. You need to go back to the point you want to change and redo everything from that point forward, even the parts you were happy with. If I'd had access to expensive specialist equipment, I could have tried non-linear editing, where you could shove stuff together in any order you liked, then change individual sections without affecting the whole. But I didn't. And to be honest, I'm rather grateful now that my first experiences with video editing were so painfully linear. There are three main reasons for this. Firstly, having spent countless hours of my teenage years sitting between tangles of wires and piles of VHS tapes, I now really appreciate modern video editing technology. Secondly, when you can't go back and easily undo a mistake, you soon learn to think very hard about every single edit and plan out your final video properly in advance. Though this does constrain editing creativity, it really focuses your attention to detail and instills an organised approach to video production. Thirdly and finally, it means I get to rant about how the youth of today don't realise how easy they have it with their Ultra HD smartphone cameras, tablet editing software and video streaming platforms. Back in my day, we had to build our own television sets out of spare firewood and melted down milk bottles. I may be misremembering certain details from the 20th century here. Throughout my teens, I made videos for other people as well as myself. I filmed and edited various school plays and concerts, and made music videos for local bands. Of course, only a handful of people ever saw my videos, because there was no internet streaming back then. Everything got passed from person to person on these cassettes. I could make multiple copies of each tape, but I was using consumer-grade equipment, so each copy was a slightly degraded version. And worse, each time I played the master tape to make a copy, the greater the risk of wearing the master out. By the time I reached my early 20s, I'd moved away from making videos completely. The whole process was so time-consuming, and I was far more interested in being a musician, as I played guitar and bass in several bands, as well as writing and recording my own solo music. That should be the end of my video story. But, as I'm sitting here in 2020, clearly making a video, obviously I got back into it at some point. Once computers became powerful enough to handle video footage, non-linear editing became the norm. And though the most advanced software packages and the machines capable of running them were far too expensive for non-professionals, it wasn't long before consumer-level video editing became viable on a normal desktop computer. And that's when I started dipping my toes back into video, initially experimenting with Windows Movie Maker, before moving on to Premiere, Avid and Final Cut, when I fell into professional video work. But that's a story for another time. I've said enough for this week. I hope this has been an educational journey through home video making in the previous century. Thanks for watching.